Hello, I'm Greg Hartjes, Superintendent for the Appleton Area School District. Thank you for joining me for this third and final video on property taxes. And in this video, I'm going to respond to a concern that I often hear from taxpayers is, why do my taxes continue to go up year after year? So I want to explain a little bit about that. First of all, I'm going to share some state level information. And this is a graph that shows that school property tax levies across the state as a percentage of personal income have gone down over the last 40 years. And actually, it's at a historical low in terms of the percentage you pay in property taxes as a percent of your income. So that's this first graph. The second one is going to look at all the taxes that you pay. And it's just the Wisconsin state and local tax burden being, again, the lowest it's been historically, going all the way back to the early 70s. And what this is showing you is that, and this graph is only looking at the last 34 years, but it's showing that your local taxes have gone down slightly as a percentage of your income. And then you also add in your state taxes, which as a percentage have gone down. When you put that together, your total burden has gone down to be at 9.6% in 2024, much lower than it was in the 1990s. So although your taxes are indeed going up, they're not going up as quickly as incomes are at the state level. Now, at the local level, what you have here is the property taxes for the Appleton Area School District from a Grand Chute resident for the last 15 years. And these are actual property taxes paid by a Grand Chute resident over this time. And I want you to look at, in 2010, the tax amount was $2,142. And you can see when you look at the percentages or even look at the numbers, they've gone down some years, they've gone up other years. But ultimately, if you go from 2010 to 2024, there's an increase of only $31. We're talking about, on average, $2 a year of an increase in property taxes. Now, there was a much larger increase this year that brought the taxes up to $2,615 for this taxpayer, and that was because in Grand Chute they had to do a market adjustment based on just the fact that residential properties have increased in value so much over the last handful of years, and that's just something municipalities are required to do. But yet, even with this large increase this last year, if you would go from 2010 to 2025 and assume that one could get a 3% increase in their property taxes, that's just simply an inflationary rate. And when you think about paying taxes, you're paying for services, and all of those services that you're paying for clearly are impacted by inflation. So the cost of those services goes up at a rate of inflation, roughly 3% over the last 15 years on average. If that had been the case for property taxes in Grand Chute for the Appleton Area School District, this taxpayer would have paid $3,336 this year. So again, considerably lower than what the increases have been to inflation. After I presented recently, I had an Appleton taxpayer, again, Appleton Area School District, but now a City of Appleton resident, who sent me their property taxes and said, similar situation in Appleton. You can see going back to 2015 for this taxpayer, they paid $1,494. And in 2024, 9 years later, they had only paid $23 more. Again, a $23 increase over 9 years. It's not very large. Again, a little bit of a larger increase this past year, but if you look at a 3% annual inflation, this individual should have paid $1,950 in property taxes this year if their tax amount would have gone up by 3% over the last 10 years, but it hasn't. So really, again, when you look at the state level and here in Appleton, property taxes have not been increasing dramatically. In fact, they've been less than inflation in their increases. And when you adjust for increases in income, they haven't gone up. All right. And then finally, last thing I want to share is just simply that if the referendum that we are going to in April were to pass, this taxpayer who paid $2,615 this year in property taxes could expect to pay $2,690 next year. So an increase of $75. All right, thank you for watching this video. Look for more videos as we get closer to our referendum.